Yes, we are live. We are live. We are live. We are live. Woo, 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 woo. Thank you so much for joining us for the Good Fight every single Tuesday night from 7 to 8. From 7 to 8. Say, ooh, ooh. It's 7 to 8. Say, ooh, ooh. I am super excited for the conversation that we are about to have. It is a continuation of our conversation from last week. And I usually don't do parts twos and threes and all of that, but I really did take my time last week. I'm going to take my time again this week. So who knows? There might be a part three. We shall see. If this is your first time joining us for the Good Fight, you are more than welcome in this space. If this is your, whoever knows, like who's even counting how many times you've been in this space, welcome, welcome, welcome. We are glad that you are here. All right, I don't know what's going on, but I'm back. Woo, I'm back. Y'all remember that? I'm back. Okay, so yes, here we are. Sorry about that. I've been having technical difficulties all day. Started with the radio station this morning and now. But again, I was simply saying thank you so much for being here. I don't think that we thank each other enough for the subtle ways that we encourage and that we support, that we assist people in whatever it is that they are doing. And a lot of times, even if we do want to encourage people, we'll usually we won't do it from our hearts. We'll say it's from the Lord. The Lord did it. Okay, well, however you roll, we are glad that you are here on tonight. And there are ways that you can engage with the good fight. One of the ways that you can engage with the good fight is to locate yourself in the story. I believe that the Bible is full of stories. They are from different speakers, so they have different perspectives, and they use different characters. Sometimes to say the same thing, sometimes not. And so, in the story that will unfold before you today, talking about actually the crucifixion of Jesus, who is called the Christ. Jesus Christ is like, we talk about Jesus Christ as if Jesus is the first name and Christ is the last name, but that's not the case. Christ is the title. And so, Christ is one who saves. Um, yeah, so it's Jesus who is our Christ, Jesus who is the one who saves. But anyway, so locate yourself in the story. Like which role are you playing? And do you want to play that role? Do you recognize yourself? Do you appreciate what you see? And if not, you can interrogate yourself to determine whether or not you want to do something about it, or whether or not you want to pat yourself on the back because you're doing a great job. Another way that you can engage in a good fight is to look through a window. And so this is not your story. Oh, excuse me. This is not your story. This is somebody else's story that you don't mind centering. You don't mind putting them first, putting them in the front, putting the spotlight on them, highlighting them. realizing that there's something that you're going to learn for yourself. Um, and and that's what it's all about, growth and development. I was thinking about an example of somebody else's story, but this might not be the best example. But today I was with Miss Sarah for a few minutes, and I got ready to go, and she had given me something to carry with me, and I walked to her house. And so when I got ready to go, I picked up the thing that she gave me so I could walk with. And she was like, put that down. You don't need to be walking with all that. Just put it down. You'll get that later. And I was like, and I just stopped moving. I just stopped. I was in the middle of her floor and I just stopped moving. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm trying to figure this out. She's like, what are you trying to figure out? And I said, I don't want you to tell me what to do because I can handle myself. But I also don't want to disobey my elder. So I'm feeling like I don't know what to do. And so I decided to put the stuff down that she told me to put down and to walk on out that door. And as I was walking, I was thinking, like, you could have done what you wanted to do. You ain't had to do what she said do. And that's correct. I did not have to. But I chose to center her. I chose to honor her. I chose to do what she said to do. And it doesn't take much for us to do that, right? It didn't cost me anything to say, I'm going to listen to my elder instead of doing whatever I want to do. So when we talk about looking through a window, somebody else's story, let's put the spotlight on them. Let's listen to them. Let's receive from them and make them the joy right now. I was going to say of our salvation, but that's just because I remember that scripture. A third way that you can engage with a good fight is to walk through a door. So hopefully this is not the end of a conversation, but it is that this conversation will continue beyond the hour mark. That it'll just be living in you, just floating around in there somewhere, and at some point you might have a conversation about it with someone else, or even with yourself. My friend June, she just sent me. She put this on the piano at church for me. It says, "People who talk to themselves instead of just thinking silently," and it's 11 reasons why. And so you could be talking to yourself. And then finally, the final way that you can show up for the good fight, engage with the good fight, is to comment right here, just like we got Lo already in the house. Woo woo, Lo right here, wishing us life, prosperity, and health. With Unc, Job, and Seneb, life, prosperity, and health we wish to you. All right, now you know it's good to see you. Lo, always good to see you. Hotel. So tonight, again, is a continuation of last week. We're talking about Jesus as a political prisoner. We were talking about it last week because I feel like there are political prisoners among us. There are political prisoners in our midst. There are political prisoners in our history. There are political prisoners have been all around us for who knows how long. But when we're talking about people that we can touch, feel, and see, it's difficult for us sometimes to recognize the Jesus in them. And when I say the Jesus in them, I'm not talking about whether or not they fed the hungry, or whether or not they gave food, clothes to the clothes closet. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about something that Jesus experienced, and that same experience we have. And so we are aligned with Jesus, like Jesus in that way. And so for people who have suffered from political violence, then the experience is the same, whether you're talking about Jesus or you're talking about the person. But for some reason, when it's a person, we just can't seem to wrap our minds around the concept. And so whatever works to get us to think about these things on a deeper level, then that's what I'll do. So to talk about political violence, to talk about Jesus as a prisoner of political violence, to talk about Jesus as a victim of political violence, then let's just do that. And then we can apply what we see with Jesus's life to our lives, to our culture, to our country, to our world, and kind of go from there. And so we finished at I was trying to listen to the recording from last week, and I couldn't get any sound. And I'm like, so many technical difficulties. So I can't remember exactly. So if I'm not mistaken, The last part of what we talked about was from Matthew. We're talking about Matthew, and we were in chapter 27. And I think we finished from 11 to 16. So I'm going to try to pick up there with um, Matthew chapter 27, and this is verse 17. I'm going to start right there, and then we'll move and see what happens. So what did I say? Matthew chapter 17, verses 12 through 18. Okay, so here we are. Let us start right here with this tonight's lesson, tonight's conversation. Okay, so then this is like the end of verse. Then, aren't you the king of the Jews? Oh yes, I remember now. That's exactly where we were. So right before, here we are. This is the end of verse 11, where this is Pilate. Pilate the governor. Jesus is before the Pilate the governor. He's been arrested. He's been indicted. He's been indicted with the crime of saying that he is God's son. And so right before this, Pilate asks Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And so Jesus says, right here, we're picking up from Jesus's response to Pilate asking him that question, "Are you son of the king of the Jews?" And he said, "You have said so," Jesus replied. When he was accused by the chief priests and the elders, he gave no answer. Then Pilate asked him, "Don't you hear the testimony they are bringing against you?" But Jesus made no reply, not even to a single charge, to the great amazement of the governor. Now, it was the governor's custom at the festival to release a prisoner chosen by the crowd. At that time, they had a well-known prisoner whose name was Jesus Barabbas. So when the crowd had gathered, Pilate asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you? Jesus Barabbas or Barabbas or Jesus who is called the Messiah?" For he knew it was out of self-interest that he had handed Jesus over to him. I feel like we actually talked about that one last week, but I want to stay right there for just a minute because I can't remember everything that I said from last week. But I want to just really focus in on the very beginning of this passage that is at the end of verse 11 in chapter 27 in the Gospel according to Matthew, that Pilate says, "Aren't you the king of the Jews?" And Jesus said, "You have said so." So we see this more than once throughout the Bible where we as people will claim Jesus as somebody or some force or some leader that Jesus has not yet claimed for himself. Jesus did not show up on the scene saying, "I am the king of the Jews." Jesus did not show up on the scene saying, "I'm going to be your Christ." Jesus certainly did not show up on the scene saying, I'm going to start this whole new religion. Like, that's not what Jesus says at all. We have decided as people who Jesus is going to be. So when I talk about walking through a door, when I talk about locating yourself in the story, yeah, when we got to find, like, are we, me and you, not talking about the whole world, you and me, have we given to Jesus a title that Jesus himself has not said belongs to him? Because when Jesus was being accused by the people, and the crime was to consider yourself on the same level as God, we need to, there should still be a crime. If that was a crime today, how many people would be locked up because you were out here acting like you God? And this would be through your narcissism. How many people do you know in your family? And that's like the world revolves around them. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. You can do no wrong. Everybody's supposed to cater to you. It's all about you. You never consider anybody else. And then you have a fit if somebody else is centered in the space. Like, find yourself. So that's an important question for us to ask ourselves. Are we claiming that Jesus is somebody that Jesus never intended to be for us? And if so, what does that mean? What does that mean for us? And what does that mean for Jesus? So Jesus says, "Hey, I ain't said, you said that. You're charging me with this crime." And so Jesus does not answer Pilate. Pilate is like, "Why aren't you defending yourself? Like, I don't know anybody who gets charged with crimes and you have no defense for yourself." The whole point of the trial, the whole point of the courthouse is for you to have an opportunity to state your case. You have an opportunity, no matter what, whether you are the defendant, whether you are the plaintiff, you have an opportunity to defend yourself. Like that. And then you also have an opportunity to what's the Fifth Amendment, not to incriminate yourself. So you have rights here, sir. You don't have to just be led, what we call it, he was led to the slaughter. You don't have to be led to the slaughter in silence. You can speak up for yourself. And yet Jesus never says a word. So this idea that we have that Jesus is the Christ, he's the Son of the living God, he is the Messiah, he's the one who has come to save, where we get that from? Because Jesus said, I ain't say that. So here's Lo. Lo says, is this the thought of Jesus or the author? That's an excellent question. Is this the thought of Jesus or the author? And so the question then becomes, right, when we are reading the Bible, is it Jesus that we're listening to? Or is it someone telling the story about Jesus? And whose story is it? Because when we look at the synoptic gospel, synoptic meaning that they are in sync, that you're going to see the same story in all three of these books. So Matthew, Mark, and Luke are the synoptic gospels. If you see something in Matthew, I was just quoting Matthew Sunday, and I think I was talking about the very hairs of your head on your head are numbered. Well, you can find that in Matthew 10 and 30, but you can also find it in Luke 12:17. And so, if I'm not mistaken, so you got these two different books from these two different people they use the same content, but it's still coming from a different perspective. It's a different lived experience. And so that's what we find with Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Even though you see the same content throughout, for the most part, the majority of it is the same content. Then it's like, but Matthew is Greek. Matthew is speaking to his people. Matthew is in his language. These are his people. And so when you think about Mark is the one who is like, it's like bam, 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 with how all the miracles from Jesus, like Jesus on the move, Jesus in action, like look at this Jesus, look at what he's doing. And then you've got Luke, who's a physician. So he's coming at this through the healing lens. Like, how does Jesus heal through what he's doing, what he's saying? And then you got John that's like, listen, whatever you done heard, they don't know. I'm the chosen one. God is here giving you the story that you need to read and understand. And so who are we listening to? We're listening to the writer. And then we have to even get deeper than that, because I think I mentioned this earlier today, that when we talk about the Bible, we also have to talk about the process of the Bible, the setting in which the process for curating the Bible, coming up with these 66 books, like what was that? And it was a patriarchal society. So even women, if you had written a book, if you wanted it to be included as the Bible, then you had to use a different name. So who are we really? Is it even the name of the person that's on the book? Like, who are we really listening to? That's a great question. We're listening to the author. Does that mean we're listening to Jesus? Does it? And I don't want to tell you what to think, but I'm offering that up for your consideration. Hey, Takia. Hey, Takia. You got the most beautiful. I know that they say, when you have children or when you claim people, you think that they are the cutest in the world. You get the cutest little, the cutest little baby. When I tell you your sons are so cute to me, I don't know if it's because of the way you catch them. I don't know how big, I don't know, but them some cute little boys. Thanks for showing up tonight. And so Jesus says, you are asking me questions and you want me to defend myself, but really it's no need of me defending myself, because you all have already made up your minds that you know who I am. And not only have you made up your mind about who I am without my input, you're going to give me a whole life, a whole mission, a whole purpose according to what you want from me, instead of allowing me to just be who I am and you experience me in the way that you experience me, which may be different from the way your neighbor experiences me. We don't give Jesus any freedom to be who Jesus believes himself to be. And then we start talking about these, we talk about these verses from scripture where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. But yet we bind Jesus up. So, okay, now if Jesus, through the power of the Holy Spirit, grants us liberty, how we gonna How we gonna lock Jesus down? Like, how does that work? And so Jesus says, listen, I'm not even in this because it's clear that y'all have made up y'all minds. I'm going to make sure that I do what I hear. When I listen to my God and the relationship that I have with my God, I'm going to do what I hear. I'm going to do what I feel led to do. I'm going to do what I am called to do. So Lo says he's going to ask a different question. I asked a different question. Was it Paul or God that decreed that a woman should not be in the pulpit? It's almost like you heard my sermon Sunday. I am preaching every second Sunday of the month. Hey, I got on the calendar. But I ended up preaching this past Sunday. And I brought this very same thing up. When I was talking about the woman at the well. The woman at the well who has been condemned by the people because she is free with her sexuality. She don't mind sharing her body with whoever she wants to share it with, but yet the world, society tells you, oh, you're supposed to be a virgin until you are married. And then when you are married, you're supposed to have unbridled. You really are supposed to have unbridled sex with your husband. If somebody told you different about your marriage, then they wrong. Whatever y'all decide to do together in that bed, it is undefiled. That's according to the word. So y'all do whatever you want to do. But according to this story, this woman has had 7 husbands, and in this world where we live, like if you divorce, it's like what? Especially if you talk about being a Christian and a woman. Now, men. Again, we have a whole different, right? Like men can be divorced 5 and 6 times. We don't even bat an eye. But if it's a woman, you're like, what's wrong with her? She's been married, blah, blah, blah. And so this woman has had 7 husbands, and the one she's with is not hers. And so the people have condemned her. But this is the very woman who Jesus uses as a preacher. Jesus calls her to preach in this moment because when he gets through with her, because of their interaction, because of what she's feeling stirring up in her soul and in her body, she cannot keep it to herself. And so Jesus doesn't even tell her to go, but because of Jesus's presence within her life, because Jesus refuses to shun her or condemn her for whatever labels other people have given her, because Jesus says, no, I see you through God's eyes, and therefore you are worthy, you have value. I don't care about this other stuff that y'all talking about. She ends up putting down her water pot, going into the city and saying, come see a man. Anytime, anybody, I don't care how old they are, I don't care what color they are, I don't care what gender they are, I don't care what gender identity they have, I don't care anything about their labels. Anytime somebody tells you the good news about God, you preach. That's all preaching is. It's sharing the good news. And in the United Methodist Church, we tell you what the good news is. When we talk about our rituals, in our rituals, we say the good news is that Christ has died. Christ lived, Christ died, and Christ shall come again. That's the good news, that he is alive. So anybody who says that can preach. Now, Jesus then given this woman the inspiration to do that, and he never says, oh, no, not you. Other people can talk about me, but not you. Other people can be in the pulpit, but not you. Other people can say whatever I give them, inspire them to say, oh, but not you, because you're a woman. What? So no, Jesus didn't say that. Here's something else we put on Jesus. And then we use Jesus. We use Jesus as a weapon. Now, doggone well, God ain't told you to tell nobody something. The first thing he says, God told me to tell you. And then you tell them, you want to judge their life, or you want to change the trajectory of their life in some way. You want them to think about things differently. And you don't believe that you have the strength and the power in your own name. So you attach Jesus's name to it. God told me to tell you. God ain't got to tell you to tell me nothing. I have a direct relationship, a direct line. Jesus is on the main line. I got a main line. I don't need you. So no, Jesus never said that. Now, when you talk, if you say, but it's in the Bible, that goes back to the original question that Hotel asked. Yes, it's in the Bible. Which book, who was talking, and why was they talking about it? So yes, you can find in the Bible where it says that women should be quiet in the church. Well, actually, what was happening is that Paul was feeling himself. Paul was feeling a little sporty. He was feeling froggy, so he wanted to jump because he's having it. And because of the culture, you had women sitting on one side, you had men sitting on the other side. How many of you all still go to churches like that? Like my church when I was growing up, that's how the deacons and the deaconesses were. On the right side of the church, at the front 2 or 3 pews, that's where the deacons sat. On the left side of the church, the first 2 or 3 pews, that's where the deaconesses sat. And so they were the wives of the deacons. So they are separated. Actually, they don't sit together with their husbands. They don't sit together with their families. They are separated. So it's the same thing. I'm sure we probably got it from the Bible. So it's the same thing where you have women on one side, you have men on the other side. And the women, because of the culture, they had to ask their husband. If you had a question, you had to ask your husband whatever was going on. Like you didn't have power because you were a woman. You didn't have your voice because you were a woman. That's why some women were writing in men's names because they knew it would be rejected if they saw that it was a woman's name. That's why some babies, if they were born as a girl first, they would put them outside and let them die. Let the elements take them because no, we got to have a man first. So all of this sexism that's at play. And so that's happening. And so the women were talking and they were, and Paul wanted them to be quiet. That's really what he wanted because it was distracting to him. It's distracting to me when I'm up preaching and somebody gets up wandering around like I'm wondering what are they doing, but you're in the middle of talking and it's like it is a distraction, yes, but many of us have learned how to deal with it. And so Paul didn't want them talking while he was talking, so he was like, "Stop talking. You only supposed to talk when you get home and ask your husband the question. Don't be talking up in here." That's really what happened. And from that verse, that exchange, well, not exchange, that lecture from Paul, we now say that women are not supposed to preach. And there are other incidents like that. But the point is, we don't ask ourselves, why would God tell the women they can't talk? Why would God do that? Because if you created us, and you created us in your own image and in your own likeness, and you created both of us, as men and women, and I believe without a shadow of a doubt, you also created our gender non-conforming siblings. Then how you gonna tell me I can't talk about you? You talking about one of the worst arguments I had with a lover. He told me not to let his God's name come out of my mouth. You talking about what? So yes, we have to ask those questions. But it's not even about asking the question, though. It's about, are you willing to hear the answer? Or not even can you hear the answer? If the answer to the question is something that goes against what you've been taught, can you hear that answer? Or are you closed off to anything that does not align with your teaching? My mama and them said, the Bible's, this is what I've been taught my whole life. Well, that is a question that only you can answer. And what I'm hoping, and that's why a lot of times I say, I'm just offering this up for your consideration because you may decide that you cannot receive it. And that's fine. Throw it in the trash. It's fine. That's up to you. But if you can consider it, let it do what it do. It just might change your perspective. It just might. Or add to it or just, tweak it a little bit. I don't know. So Jesus says, you said that I am the Christ. So Pilate goes on and he's like, I can't believe you're not defending yourself. And then he asks the people, said, it is a tradition. Everybody knows the tradition. Nobody has to outline the tradition. So he tells us as if we know, this is what we do. We come together for this festival and we ask you who you want us. We're going to, it's almost like the year of Jubilee it's interesting how so much of the Bible we are rooted in, but then some aspects of it we decide we don't want to be rooted in. But there's a year of Jubilee in the Old Testament for people who were slaves. And slavery in the Bible did not look like slavery in the United States, did not look like slavery, did not look like the Holocaust. It does not look the same, but yet the principle is the same, that somebody else is being used as property in some way. And so the year of Jubilee says that after you work 7 years, you're free. Like the year of Jubilee is the year that you have now done all of those. You have now done everything that was assigned to your hand. You're done. And so now you are free. And so if you have any debts, you are free from your debts. If you owed any labor, you are free from you now have an opportunity to start fresh because you no longer are tied to the debt that you owe, however that looked, and you are free to go about your own business and chart your own course. And so that's the year of Jubilee. And so these Pilate offers to the people every year, like a year of Jubilee for one somebody. Who is the somebody? So Pilate gives it to the people. Okay, who is it that you want me to release? Is it Jesus Barabbas, or is it Jesus, the one who is said to be the King of the Jews? Let me see what Lo is saying. For those Bible Christians, come and let us reason together. One of the things I love about my mom, she taught me this. I used to have to keep my cousin, and the folks at the church scandalized my name because when I was keeping my cousin, they said it was my baby, and I just didn't want to tell anybody it was my baby, and they was trying to hide it from blah, blah, but I was keeping my cousin. And one of the things that my mother taught me was to talk to him like he was a little person, because that's who he is. She could not stand it if somebody was like, a kiki kaka, oh, you got to pee pee with your little wee wee. Like, we couldn't do that in our house. My mom was like, this is a young person, and right now he is on record, and at some point he is going to press play, and when he presses play, you want him to talk to you where you can understand, because you don't know nothing about no, you can't understand that gibberish. Talk to him as the human that he is. And so I then love my cousin Candace, because I've watched her. I remember when each one of them, she has two children. I remember when both of them were born. I remember where I was, especially when her son was born. And that's how she has always been. So sometimes when I'm talking to her on the phone, when Nyla was about 5 years old, she would say, she would have me on the phone, and she said, "What you say, Nyla?" Okay, and they would have like a full-fledged conversation, like what, going back and forth. And so she would censor her daughter. She would censor her son. She would be like, let me hear what it is that y'all are saying. Let me understand. And sometimes she was like, niece, I gotta go because I'm trying to understand what they're saying to me. Like, and so I love that. And so this idea that Jesus gives us, this concept of how to be in relationships, that come, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And our communication is going to be effective communication, because you're talking to the one with whom you are in covenant relationship. So that means you can be open, you can be naked and not ashamed. I think that's a title of a book by T.D. Jakes, but you can be wide open with me. You can be vulnerable with me. You can tell me your joys and your concerns. You can tell me your fears. You can tell me your doubts. And so when people say you ain't supposed to worry, yes, you are. When people say you're not supposed to doubt, yes, you are. It is okay, whatever it is that you're feeling. God says, let's talk about it. But it's something about some churches that don't want you to do this. Why do some churches say, you don't question God? Don't ask me a question. Why I can't ask you a question? Why I can't ask God a question? Probably because you don't know the answer. That's why you don't want me to ask the question. That's more than likely what's happening. But God says, whatever it is that is on your mind, think about the book of Job, where God basically gives Job carte blanche. Whatever you want to say, say it. And Job goes off. I can't believe you the kind of God that would do this. I would never do this. I would never be this kind of God. You supposed to be this and you supposed to be that. I mean, he goes on for what, a chapter at least? And the chapter got about 40 verses in it, or maybe even 2 chapters. I mean, he just goes slap off on God. And God sits there and says, God ain't mad about it. He did not smite Job. He did not cause anything to happen to Job. He said, oh, okay, I hear you. Now, let me respond. And when he got through with Job, Job felt about this big, but that's not the point. The point is you have the freedom to express yourself with your God. If a man, I'm talking about a human, whether it's male, female, gender non-conforming, says that you can't talk, you ain't supposed to ask God a question. You're not supposed to question what God, because you're not going to stop me from questioning God, especially when things like babies die, babies 3 years old die. God, I want to know what you up to. What was that about? Why you do that? Well, God tells me, I ain't do that. Why you putting that on me? That's how my God talks to me. Don't put that, I ain't in that. I ain't got nothing to do with it. They saying the Lord, everything happens for a reason. That's what they say. So God does say, come, let us reason together. So here Jesus has an opportunity to defend himself, but Jesus does not, because that's not what he's about. Like, the people have already decided, and they said, who do you want, Jesus Barabbas or Jesus the Christ? And I've lifted this up last week. Notice both of them, Jesus Barabbas or Jesus Christ. Now, wait a minute now. Both of y'all Jesus? What does that mean for both of them to have the same name? And here's yet another opportunity, another invitation for us to dig deeper. Wait, now, both of them called Jesus? Like, how that work? Because I thought it was only one. Because there's not a friend like the lowly Jesus. No, not one. Ain't nobody else like Jesus. Can't nobody, hey, do me like Jesus. Can't. We got this one person. So now you're gonna give them both the same name? Again, Jesus, you have given, we have given, the world has given Jesus this whole identity that Jesus don't even recognize himself when he look in the mirror. Like, is that me? When he look in the Bible, that's me. What? So which one of these you want? Because Jesus. Oh, so the word Jesus, it translates into the son of the Father. And so Jesus is Jesus Barabbas, son of the Father. Jesus Christ, the Son of God. It's the same title within each of the names. You know, just like we try to give our children, well, some of us try to give our children names that have meanings. And so I was talking to Osiris today, and he told me his daughter's name. And then I said, well, what does that mean? Because I know him. I know that he and his partner, I know that they did not just pull a name out of the sky. And the baby's name is a little girl. Her name means the one who moves. Her movement is a gift from God. And so putting her first and middle name together, so she moves. The way she moves is a gift from God. So the way she is among us, the way she navigates, the way she does what she does, like that is the gift from God. So here comes, Hotep says, in some texts, the name Joshua is the same as Jesus. That is true in some texts. And so I know we're supposed to be talking about Jesus as political prisoner, but here I wasn't thinking about this until just now, especially with these questions from Lo, that's what we have Jesus now as a political prisoner. We're using the politics of religion that we have wrapped up and tied up and tangled up in Jesus without Jesus's permission. Because if you let Jesus speak for Jesus itself, Jesus never says I'm good. Jesus never says I'm your God. Jesus never says I'm the Son of God. Jesus never says any of that. What Jesus demonstrates for us is what it means to be in right relationship with your God, where you are in covenant relationship, you are communing on a regular basis, you trust and you believe what you hear from your God, and you act on it, you move on it, you put your body on the line, because whatever you are hearing from this external force that lives within you, that dwells within you, that is, because you can't help but have it in you because you were created by it, then that is how you are to move amongst the people. And and this is what Jesus's life says, and because you are faithful to your beliefs, to your God, because you are faithful, people can't help but see the God that you serve at work in you. And because you haven't said anything, you haven't named yourself Christian, you haven't named yourself Jewish, you haven't named yourself Buddhist, you haven't named yourself anything, but you are moving among us as the gift you were created. And because of that, people can't help but be curious about you and say, well, it's some, I can't put what the old people say, I can't put my finger on it, but it's something about you. And they want to know more about you. And when they ask you a question about what it is that you believe, you don't have to point them to the Bible. You don't have to bring up Jesus' name. You just tell your story. I remember when I was in a dark place. I remember that. Where I didn't have anybody. I had been isolated from my family. I had been isolated from my friends. And the one man that I thought was the whole world to me ended up in jail. And I'm all by myself and I don't know what to do. But I leaned on what I had heard about this man that they called Jesus. That's what I did. And that's what got me through. But they're like, what? Really? Yeah, you telling your story. And then just as a result of you telling your story, y'all have whatever conversation y'all gonna have, and you may never know it, or you may know it, but the person leaves you and says, well, let me see some more about this Jesus. And they go on their own journey. That's all we're supposed to be doing. But Jesus is now our political prisoner because we're trying to make this a Christocentric world. We're trying to make you believe what we believe. We're trying to condemn you to hell if you don't believe what we believe. And we do it in Jesus' name. And then we attach laws and policies to it. Then now we have made Jesus a political prisoner, because Jesus is not free to be who Jesus was created to be, who Jesus is for us. We've decided for Jesus. And so Jesus is like, well, ain't no need of me saying that. So he doesn't say anything. And so the people say, okay, give us Barabbas. Now they know for a fact, according to, if you look behind the text, do some research, we know for a fact that Barabbas is a criminal. He is a known criminal. Think about how they do black people in America. Let's just think about this for a minute. From the time, especially little black boys, but it's black people in general, but especially little black boys. By the time you're 8 years old, you're already being surveilled by law enforcement. So any little thing you do that is against the law, just being a child, like most children, they are going to vandalize, like some children. I'm not saying all of them, but it's in the nature of a child growing up to vandalize, to buck authority, to get a little go a little off, smart at the mouth. That's what I'm trying to say. What my friend used to tell me, I'm flipped at the mouth. You got a flip mouth. I mean, like, this is part of the biological design. That's what it is. But for black children, when you act like a child, the law comes down on you like you're a whole adult. We're going to treat you like an adult, and you're not supposed to do that. And so if by the time you are 15, 17, 22 years old, if you do something and you are entangled again in the law, with the law, the first thing they say is, oh, let me pull up their record. That's the first thing they do. Because 9 times out of 10, if you black in America, you got a record, especially if you're a black man. And so the first thing they want to do is show you. Well, before we even get to court, I want to already have you thinking in your mind, already making up your judgments, already deciding who this person is based on what I'm showing you with the record. And so it's going to be easier for you to condemn the person, easier for you to find them guilty, because in the back of your mind, you got this record right here. That's the first thing they're going to do is say, let's pull the record. And so the people, you can pull the record on Barabbas. Pull the record. And it show everybody know he been in trouble with the law. Everybody know. You know who in the neighborhood been to jail. You know. And still they said, this is the one we want. And so Pilate is like, well, what you want me to do with the other? What you want me to do with this? Because Pilate said, I already know y'all playing a game. Because Pilate says, I'm washing my hands from this. Yes, I'm the governor. Yes, I'm the authority in this space. But you're not going to say this. I did this. You're not going to say I did it. Because I know y'all up to no good. I already know. But hey, the power rests with the people. And that's something we forget all the time as people. The power does not rest with the politicians. The power rests with the people. We can vote them in. Now, here's where I really think that we should be like Bill Cosby. I wish he had never said these words. And I'm sure it was on the show. Somewhere he said, talking about a child, I brought you in this world, I can take you out. I wish he had never said those words. Because this possession that we think we have over these children, like children belong to you, like children are your property, that is not the case, sir, ma'am, gender nonconforming parent. That is not the case. But here is the case where we should say to politicians, we put you in this office and we can take you out. That's what we should be riding on. You are there. You serve at our mercy, because we can come for you at any time. If you are not doing what aligns with what we believe you're supposed to be doing, well, we have the power of the ballot. But many of us don't understand how powerful we are. So Pilate is clear. He is the governor, and yet he understands the power is with the people. What y'all want me to do? They said, give us Barabbas. He said, what you want me to do with Jesus? They said, crucify him. Because this is a political game that's going on between the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the chief priests and the elders. They need Jesus gone. We cannot afford for him to stay on the scene, because he is changing hearts and minds. He is uprooting our system. He is dismantling our system. He is coming for power, and he is making, significant headway. People talk about who got mad because they were saying Jesus baptizing more people than we are. Jesus ain't even baptized nobody. Y'all lied on him. Now his disciples have baptized more people, and Jesus, they're doing it in Jesus' name. But Jesus, like, I ain't even touched the water. I got baptized myself. What you talking about? But they're so scared that Jesus is going to change things, that Jesus is going to usher in a new earth, a new heaven for us on earth, where there's justice, where there's peace, where there's equality, where there's equity, where there is inclusion, where there's peace. And they're like, no, we can't do nothing with that. War brings us money. We need war. We make money off war. So we can't have it too peaceful around here. We make money off of all of the systems that are in place. So we can't afford for Jesus to mess us up. And so because of their politics, they need Jesus gone. And so the people, what is that? When people talk about the Holocaust, they sometimes ask, like, how could y'all let this happen? Because you're not looking at the bigger picture. You're just looking at what I want. People who are anti-abortion, as long as they anti-abortion, I don't care what else they do. People who are pro-gun, as long as I can keep my guns, I don't care what else they do. And all of the stuff that you don't care about that's happening, that's the stuff that's going to get you. That's the stuff that's going to get you. And so they say, crucify him. We don't want him. He's too much of he's a troublemaker. He's too much. We want him gone. And what happens? We all know the end of the story. Jesus gets crucified by the people. Not just by the Jewish people, by everybody, the Romans, everybody out there. Okay, so let's keep going. So that was Matthew chapter 27, 12 through 18. So here's Matthew 27, 19 through 23. Let's keep going. Let me pull this so I can see better. Ooh, I got to see better. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people made their plans how to have Jesus executed. Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong one. That's 27, 1 through 5. We're supposed to be 27, 19 through 23. I hit the wrong button. It was right above it. While Pilate was sitting on the judge's seat, his wife sent him this message: don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas and to have Jesus executed. Which of the two do you want me to release to you? Asked the governor. Barabbas, they answered. What shall I do then with Jesus, who is called the Messiah? Pilate asked. They all answered, crucify him. Why? What crime has he committed? Asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, crucify him. Somebody, when we start talking about prophets, when we talk about people that's prophetesses, when we talk about people that are prophetic, what does that mean? That means that they have warned us before something happens. Octavia Butler is a prime example of a prophet. If you read her book, Parable of the Sower, which was written, I can't remember what year, but I'm talking about decades ago. What we living through right now is in that story, is in that book. So she's prophetic. She's telling us, listen, y'all, if you're not careful, this is what's going to happen. This is why we say all the time that you've got to know your history. If you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. I'm trying to tell y'all, hey. There were some people trying to tell you about this administration. Don't usher them in. Don't do it. Even when in the Old Testament, when the people said we want a king, God is like, the prophet is like, no, you don't. They're like, don't tell us what we want. Give us what we want. And God says, give it to them. If that's what they want, that's what they begging for, that's what they think they need, give it to them. Let them see how it plays out. Let them see what the end is going to be. And so Pilate's wife says, listen, I don't care nothing about nobody else that's out there. You are mine. We should stop calling each other mine. Like, that's mine. We should stop doing that. But she's like, listen, I'm in partnership with you. So I'm more concerned. The person that I'm most concerned about, I'm not even concerned about this man y'all talking about, this Messiah. I'm talking about you. Don't you have anything to do with that. Don't you have anything to do with that, because you get ready to get yourself into it. Where don't you let them pull you into that. No. Listen to me. Like my mama said, he may be the head of the household, talking about the man, but the head can't move without the neck. And I'm that neck. So Pilate's neck said, listen, don't you have nothing to do with that. And there are plenty of people who are sounding the alarm for us. Stacey Abrams sounds the alarm for us. You had Malcolm X sounding the alarm. You had Angela Davis even still present with us, sounding the alarm. And still the people have been persuaded. We've definitely been persuaded through the power of the construct of race that you are not even thinking for yourselves if you are poor and white. You cannot even think about your own needs because you've been persuaded that the only thing that matters is race. And in the process of you focusing on that one thing, that single issue, yo, look, some of y'all ain't even getting paid and they still want you to go to work. And so Pilate's wife says, hey, don't have anything to do with it. Pilate says, what do y'all want me to do? They said, give us Barabbas. And he says, why? What do you want me to do with Jesus? They say, crucify him. And he asks the question, why? What crime has he committed? They don't answer the question because it don't matter. They're so far gone. They're so far gone in their thinking, and they haven't been persuaded, haven't been programmed, haven't been indoctrinated. Those words that we use today. The people did a good job on them. Like I can say that about black folks. The system of whiteness has done a good job on us. I sometimes feel like, yes, I be talking about the system of white supremacy, system of white inhumanity. I don't call it supremacy. Inhumanity, what they're doing to us. I be talking about all of this, and I'm talking about the system. I'm coming for the system. But sometimes I have to just sit back and say, you know what? It's not the system. The system is in place, yes, but we the ones keeping it running. Sometimes it's us as black folks keeping it running. We oppressing ourselves. And it's the truth. Like, we oppressing ourselves. We have been so caught. We got so much internalized racism. We've been listening. We're so caught up in the white gaze. We only see ourselves the way white people see us, and so we can't see our own divinity. Sometimes we caught up. We're complicit in the very systems that are harming us. We keep them going. And so these people are so far gone that they say, listen, it don't matter. It don't matter if he's innocent. Think about our criminal injustice system. We put to death people that are innocent all the time, because that's not what matters. It's the politics of it. That's what we're concerned about. And so Pilate says, what has he done? The people don't answer. They just scream all the louder, crucify him. And so then Pilate said, when Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere, but that instead there's an uproar was starting, he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. I am innocent of this man's blood, he said. It is your responsibility. All the people answered, his blood is on us and our children. That's what the people said. His blood is on us and on our children. Then he released Barabbas to them, but he had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. So Pilate said, listen, I know y'all playing a game. I know this is politics. I know exactly what's happening. And some politicians I talk to say that. They say to me, I know exactly what's happening. I know they're using me. I know that. But while they're using me, my goal is to make sure that I do this for my constituents. I want to make sure I get this done. It's just the name of the game. It's just how it goes. So Pilate says, okay, y'all say y'all want him. Y'all won't answer me. Y'all in the uproar. I see that y'all not listening. Y'all can't hear me. Y'all don't want to receive anything I said. Let me wash my hands in front of you. Because don't go back and say Pilate said. Don't go back and say Pilate did. Don't put my name in it. I'm washing my hands. I'm done with this. And yet, though, he still had Jesus handed over. And so, even though the power rests with the people, because of his leadership, because of his authority, he could just make what we call it these days an executive decision. He can just declare it so. So Pilate could have vetoed them. He could have. And he could have chosen not to have Jesus flogged. He could have said, okay, listen, I know that's what y'all usually do, but I don't believe this man is guilty. I know this is what y'all said y'all want, but hey, look, y'all can have him, but don't beat him. He could have done that. So when Pilate says, my hands are washed, I have nothing to do with this, not really, sir. You still got something to do with it. You do have something to do with it. Those of us sometimes don't realize our complicity. So we talk about people who are LGBTQ. I'm reading this book. That's why it's on my mind. I'm reading this book called Perfect Peace. And it's about, it's about gender and sexuality and gender identity and how we see it and how we groom our children to fill these roles that we have set apart for women and for men, and how dangerous it is, our grooming, when we find somebody who lives in the gray. I just said this today. Everybody wants to not everybody, many of us walk around like this world is black and white, when really all of us are living in the gray. Nothing is absolute. We are all living in the gray. And so he could have. So he's acting like he doesn't have anything to do with it, but he still carries on as if as if Jesus was guilty. He said, I know he's not, but we still gonna treat him like he is. So you're just as much a part of the system as the other folks. So this is your complicity. And so when we talk about black women in particular who wear Michael Kors, you wear Michael Kors. You got his he got shoes now. He got, I don't know. I know he got purses, but I think he has shoes, and I know he has clothes because I got a shirt in there. Got it for Ross Dress for Less for $5, but nevertheless, I still got his shirt. I'm still advertising for free. And so some black women are offended by black gay men. Like they don't want their child to be, they don't want their stepson. We got to stop saying step. They don't want anybody in their family to be gay. No black men. We don't want no faggots, no sissies. All these harmful words that we use, that we have carried over from the past. We use these words against our own children, against our own people. But you carrying a Michael Kors bag. Well, Michael Kors is a gay white man. So you condemn the black gay man for being gay, but you celebrate the white gay man not only by not mentioning or pretending like his gayness doesn't matter, but you feeding his empire because you buying it. You buying his stuff, and then you masquerading around it like you all that because you got a Michael Kors. How does this work? So the very system that's harming, that you are involved in by harming black folks, you are complicit in it because you say white gay men are okay. I don't mind wearing their stuff, but I don't want nobody. You can't design me nothing, black man, if you gay. How does that work? And then you say, well, I don't have nothing to do with it. Yeah, you are just as guilty as the person who actually says out of their mouth to the black gay man that you are nothing. You didn't say that. You've never said that. You never will say that. But your support for a white gay man in place of your support for a black gay man says the same thing. I don't think that you are worthy. I don't think that you have value. I'm not going to celebrate you. How does that work? So you don't say you ain't in it. You absolutely are in it. You absolutely are in it. And we have to take a look at ourselves and say, wait, what now? I ain't know that. Even people, oh my goodness, even people who say the only version of the Bible that I read is the King James version. I got to have the King James. If it ain't the King James, it ain't right. Especially black people, our culture, we are homophobic, stereotypically, generally speaking. Not everybody, because I just said ain't no absolutes, so not everybody. But our culturally speaking, by and large, many of us are homophobic. So King James, the one who translated your Bible, that you say is the only one you will read, is gay. So how does this work now? You homophobic, you don't believe God said that's a sin. Well then, why would you read God's word from a sinner? Y'all got to help me understand some of the stuff we be doing. I don't get that. You want to make, like, let's talk about Eddie Long in Georgia. He was over New Birth Missionary Baptist Church that my uncle and my cousin used to belong to. I wonder, does my cousin still? Well, no, she's not there anymore. But anyway, they used to belong to the church. Always talking against people who are homophobic. I mean, people who are same gender loving. And what did we learn? Did he the same gender loving? Like, we got to be careful, right? We got to be careful. And so Pilate says, I'm not in it, but he is in it because he sends Jesus out to be flogged. And Jesus is crucified, and Jesus is on his way. And so I guess we will have part 3, but we'll talk about Jesus being crucified. And so then what are we talking about? Jesus as political prisoner. Then when we think about politics, what are politics? It's the ways in which we want to create systems so that folks will function the way that we think is best for them to function, so that society runs as a whole. Now, that's what politics is supposed to be. That's what it is on its face. If you're just reading the definition of it, like, it's the politics. That's what we use to govern each other, to govern people, so that we can live together, so that we can coexist as a body of people. But the corruption of politics says, oh no, there are only certain people who get to decide how the rest of the people are going to act, and we're gonna use any means, by any means necessary. We're gonna dictate to you how you're going to act, and we're gonna use whatever medium works. And religion works. Jesus works. So we're going to use Jesus to control your body so that you will do what we want you to do as the people in this community, in this world, in this society. And if you don't, then there are consequences for your refusal. There are consequences. You end up crucified, which is what happened to Jesus. And we'll talk more about that next week. Thank you so much for joining us for the good fight. It's 8 o'clock. I am out. I'll see you next week. Bye. End stream.